everybody, it's Allison. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new December Craft Your Life project kit from Altenew called Whispers in the Canopy. And this is the card that I will be sharing today. And the other thing I'm going to be sharing today is the fact that I am now a brand ambassador for Altenew. This is going to be for the next 3 months. So I'm really excited and honored and very grateful to Altenew. So here is the kit for December, again called Whispers in the Canopy. This is available to purchase outside of a subscription, although subscribing to these kits gives a really good discount. You get a large die set, a 3D embossing folder and layering stencil set, and then a 6x8 stamp set. There's also an add-on available, which for this month gives you dies for those words on that stamp set. And then you get this fabulous booklet, which includes sample card ideas as well as ideas for ink combinations. It also shows how the stencils layer together. They have such beautiful packaging for their products for sure. All right, for today's card, I will be featuring the die set from the kit, and it's a big one. This uses Altenew's keyhole system. Inside you'll find 2 different types of birdhouses, 2 different birds, and then a branch and some leaves. And I love how the packaging separates these dies from each other so you don't get confused. And on the back there's a colored guide showing how each element goes together. Each die has a number on it which corresponds to this guide. And there's also an image of the different keyhole shapes used on some of the elements. All right, we're going to start off with Birdhouse A. I have cut all the pieces from an off-white cardstock, and I'm using this small blending brush to apply the lightest color in this ink family, which is Morning Frost. So there's obviously going to be a lot of ink blending in today's video. That's what today's video is all about. So just inking up this back piece as well. Actually, that's the front piece. All right, I am now using Evening Gray to add some color to the roof. And I'm not going for a solid color here. I'm mainly going for color around the edges. A lot of this will be, especially on the right side, will be covered up by shingles. I love these warm grays. All right, now here are the shingles. And I'm going to be using Evening Gray to add shading to the bottom of each shingle. Not going for anything perfect here. I want it to kind of look like wood and kind of weathered. And now I'm coming in with this muted blue color. This is from the Tranquility family of blues, and this is this little roof line. I do have a bunch of Altenew cubes. They live in a drawer across the room from me. I've been trying to be better about using things that have been stashed away. I'm kind of a creature of habit, as I've mentioned before, but also my craft room is in dire need of reorganizing and decluttering. So I've been trying to do that lately as well. The colors I use today are new colors that I've bought over the last 6 months or so, and I really love them. They're colors that I don't have anywhere in my other ink brands. Not hard to believe since Altenew has so many ink colors. All right, so now I'm just starting to assemble with my liquid glue. And now I realize that I should have ink blended that first layer darker so that that hole would be darker. That is the inside of the birdhouse after all. So I'm trying not to have to redo everything. I cut another piece to cover everything else, and I'm going to try to ink blend through this hole with this little detailed brush. Of course, it leaves kind of a lighter halo around the edges that the brush just can't reach through this hole. I tried my best, but I just came in with an alcohol marker afterwards and finished the job, and it worked. Now the roof and shingles are a good example of the different keyhole shapes that Altenew uses to show you where elements go. Since there are several shingles, each one has its own unique keyhole opening. All right, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I am a brand ambassador for Altenew for the next 3 months. That does not mean that I get to travel to far-off destinations to share my wisdom and charm, although I guess that's what I'm doing right here on YouTube. I'm charming, right? What it does mean is that I will be sharing inspiration with Altenew products both on YouTube and Instagram over the next 3 months. All right, you can see that I am starting to design a layout here, and I've pulled an oldie but goodie from my stash for the background. This is the Dotted Swirls Debossing cover die, and I just love the subtle texture it gives. Now I'm going to use this muted blue ink family to add a hint of color to the background. I'm only going to add it in a few random places, but also I do start to kind of follow the swirls of the debossed pattern in several areas. I really love these blues. I love muted colors. All right, for my sentiment, I am using another oldish product. This is the Classic Greetings stamp set, and I have also used the matching dies. This sentiment that I pulled was the first one I thought about using, although you'll see on the final card I went with another one. Now I'm coming in with a slightly darker color just to add a little bit more color to the panel. I will softly blend everything in just all over the panel so that that darker color doesn't stand out so much. All right, now it's time for the bird. I'm using the bird that is flying. There's also that bird that can perch on the birdhouse. I'm using this gorgeous family of yellows called Sun-Kissed Delights. So let's talk about inks for a minute. I had a video recently showing how to get your own ink colors by blending. And I do love doing that, but some people don't like that. They just want to pick up inks and know what they're working with. The other benefit to ink families, especially these quads from Altenew, is that they're so easy to use for both layering dies and layering stencils. Oh, and there's layering stamps as well. This bird is a good example. The colored guide shows you how to use 3 colors to layer this bird. And then you just pick your 3 colors and you're done. Of course, I like to do things my own way, so I'm slowly building color with the lightest color in this family. I wasn't sure which elements I wanted to make darker, so that's why I'm doing this. Again, just starting lighter, and I can always go darker. So here I'm grabbing the next color in the family, Golden Honeycomb. And I'm really in love with these yellows. So every once in a while, I'll kind of put the bird together to see what things are looking like. Now there are these 2 smaller pieces that add detail to the bird. These pieces are an opportunity to use those darker colors. I decided not to use them on my bird. I'm going to shade those areas instead. And the bird looks just as good, so I love that there are options to make the bird your own. These are the Fine Liner Pens 2.0. These pens are waterproof pigment ink. And I'm going to use the finest point in here to make the eye for the bird. There is a tiny die cut as well, which I just pointed out, but I thought the pen would work perfectly. There is a little groove in the die cut to show where the eye goes, so it was easy to fit the fine point into that groove. There are also pieces to make legs and the beak. So I'm going to color the beak with Lava Rock and my detailed brush. It's really tiny, so here I'm going to glue it on. And I haven't assembled my bird yet, you'll notice. Now, you'll see for the most part of this card making session, I had planned on using the branch. There's a little hook that attaches the birdhouse to the branch. I did end up not using the branch, but you'll see it throughout the video. Now initially I used the blues and the warm grays to color my leaves. You'll see how I change that later on, but I do think these are really pretty. And here I'm adding some of these warm grays. I do love brown and blue together. Here I'm coloring the little perch for the birdhouse, and I started with these warm grays. So here's a slightly darker. But now I'm coming in with another color family to warm the leaves up a bit. I'm using almond butter here. And then I decided to add a little bit of warmth to the birdhouse as well. So here is an example of me making my own ink colors. This was mixing those warm grays with these browns. So there's just an endless amount of ink colors that you can create. And that's the beauty of ink blending, your die cuts, as opposed to just using solid color cardstock. So really trying to make this birdhouse look a little rustic. To add color to the bottom of my shingles, I just used a scrap of paper to cover up the part underneath where I was shading, and this is just a little trick to show that it's never too late to change things. You know that I am the queen of changing things on my card. The queen of, I guess, being indecisive. Now I have made, speaking of changing, I've made some new lighter leaves using Peachy Glow and Misty Morning. And now I'm going to add a bit more yellow with Golden Honeycomb, as I just can't get enough of these gorgeous golden colors. Now, as I'm shading this, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what the next 3 months will look like with my Altenew creations. I will be having a giveaway on my Instagram feed once a month. So if you don't already follow me there, you should do that so you don't miss those giveaways. There will be Altenew gift cards up for grabs. I will try to have videos for those cards as well, but just in case, links to all my social media are always at the end of the descriptions below my videos. So you'll find a link to my Instagram page down there. And just, always putting things back on the panel to see how they look and trying to come up with my final design. Now I'm adding even more color with this Amber Blaze. This is such a gorgeous color and really popped things up. The reason I hadn't assembled the bird yet is because I was waiting for the ink colors to dry back. So ink goes on pretty dark. I wanted it to dry to see what it looked like before, making my final decision and gluing things. So I'm glad I hadn't assembled it yet, because I think the addition of this Amber Blaze really punched things up a bit. And I will add this color to the leaves as well. So you'll see in the final photo of the card what these yellows really look like. It's hard to tell on screen in my video footage. Now, I like to add shading around the edges of my panels a lot. It helps draw the eye in. But this time I thought I would try something different. I'm just scraping this ink cube along the sides of my panel. This color is such a gorgeous color. I'm trying not to mix it too much where there is blue on the panel though. I'll bring it in a little bit onto the panel itself, but again, mainly the areas that don't have blue ink. All right, now off camera, I splattered my panel with gold metallic watercolor. I've had these watercolors for years and they're still working great. So in the final picture, you'll probably see those splatters a little bit easier. I also decided to embrace the gold, and I'm going to hang the birdhouse with gold thread and not use the branch. Now I glued that thread onto the back of my panel and then added foam tape underneath the birdhouse. And now I'm adding foam tape to the bird. And I did add the foam tape to the back of the house, kind of away from the edges so that I would have room to tuck in these leaves. So again, just trying to figure out my final layout. And I did choose a different sentiment from that classic greetings stamp set. And I stamped it with 2 different blues, both from that blue family that I've been using the whole video. And I went with this lighter version. So that is pretty much it. Can't forget the little perch, so I glued the little perch on there so the bird would have somewhere to land. And I added a few gold pearls to finish off this card. And I really love it. I love these colors. They're both muted but happy at the same time. I don't know. Let me know what you think of this card. I always love hearing from you. I appreciate having you here today. And just to end, I wanted to give another big thank you to Altenew for choosing me to represent them for the next 3 months. I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.